German colleagues who are also here in present, and hopefully we will enjoy this minutes of talk. And I would like start sharing my screen now. And only I need to share sound as well later. And videos, I hope that it will be fine if we further share videos as well. So let's try. Just please tell me if presentation is here, and then we may start. So do you see my screen? Thank you very much. What about the sound? Is it fine? Yeah, okay. Thank you for your feedback. So basically today it's very important event for me as well, because I want to share with you the ideas of piloting study, which is called transnational mapping of digital discourse, data-driven Germanic, Slavic studies, and pedagogy. This is an interdisciplinary study which is on the go and is planned for the coming years. And on the one hand, it may seem unusual, but on the other hand, it's something innovative, and maybe it evokes other creative ideas and your feedback. And in the future, hopefully, if you like the topic, I am open for further cooperation and discussion. So today we will start from the problem definition, then go to possible solutions and wireframes, and consider some next steps. So what's the challenge we have? I was thinking so we will give a try and try to see what can be done together if we bridge this gap between the offered studied fields. So, sorry, there is a message. I don't know if it's concerning this. Oh, you cannot hear me at all?
Yeah, okay. We're hearing.
We can hear you. Yeah,
Hearing.
okay.
А тепер є. А зараз не чуємо.
Okay, then we will.
Тільки що було чути, зараз не чути знову. Так, є.
Okay, I think now it will be better, right?
Oh, great.
Do you have a sound now?
Yes.
Do you hear me now? Or no sound? Let's try. Okay, so thank you for feedback. Let's maybe do like that if you don't mind, because we need to see the slides. So this project is focused on inter-transdisciplinary experience in transnational learning environments, because currently I'm teaching in Germany, and Ukrainian students also join me during hybrid format TEFL seminars, teaching English as foreign language. As well, we invite students from India and Canada, and Brazilian speakers also join us. All the students are from the field of TEFL. They are future English teachers of English as a foreign language. That's why we have this transnational learning environment. And of course, I would like to foster their linguistic research and inter or transcultural competencies. As well, they need information processing competence, critical thinking skills, and data processing. And that's why I think that digital humanities or digital humanities toolbox will trigger conceptual and methodological shifts in the paradigms of linguistic, literary, and pedagogical studies. So A little bit of theory would clarify that currently computational literary studies, distant reading practices, and spatial humanities approaches, of course, foster transcendent practice which cross the borders of linguistics, literature, and pedagogy. And also, recent research highlight the intersection of digital humanities, foreign language acquisition, and new literacies. They promote visual methodologies and pedagogical strategies to engage culturally diverse learners. Linguistic competences of TEFL students and EFL learners are effectively developed within the interdisciplinary paradigm of applied linguistics, data-driven learning, and text corpora for language learning. Especially this spatial dimension of research through the use of data in relevant formats and learning some basics of automated creation of data is another field of study for our students, and set of skills and experience in creating visually attractive lesson content. Interactive visualization would be focused on narratives, illustration, and representation of complex information in a concise and appealing manner. That's what we will try to do today, and there will be 3 basic goals of this project, but the first one will be considered today. It's about data visualization tools and applications which map Germanic and Slavic textual space. This will be literary works of modern, postmodern, and current literature from 20th, 21st centuries on the topic of displacement and immigration, with a strong focus on self-reflexivity, intertextuality, social and political context. Previously, during my workshop, which we did, I guess, some months ago at your university, we considered some instruments such as story map. We also looked at Recogito and images annotation tools in order to create a narrative, a story map, or geospatial data integration. And today we will make a step further, and we will try to create the map ourselves, and it will be multimedial and multimodal map. So why was the topic of this narratives of displacement chosen as a target empirical material? Because under conditions of migrating, foreign language learners and teachers who are often displaced due to turmoil in international contexts, there is a need to foster transnational collaboration and cooperation oriented on universal research practices. And the best thing we could do is when we choose a topic which resembles, which is self-reflecting, and which appeals to emotions of our students and ourselves, of course. So, and out of 3 main objectives, we would consider the first one, mapping of Germanic and Slavic textual space of displacement with the potential of other Germanic and Slavic language texts, as well as representation of displaced human identity formation in online learning environments. This would be objective number 2, which is in the process of development now. And there we will consider global citizenship development of foreign language learners. And number 3 is to give a try to develop data-driven foreign language learning in the above-mentioned languages, and try to implement human-machine prompts and communicative patterns, AI prompts, in order also to foster this research information competence of our learners, and also their critical thinking and creative potential, which is very important. So this goal number 1, mapping of narratives of this displacement, will be shown on short stories and narratives from 27 European countries, which are written by or about immigrants and reflect their transnational experiences of displacement. On the left side, you can see the figures and data from Eurostat, that the number of displaced people from Ukraine ranges more than 4 million of people. And of course, if we choose these texts and stories which are resembling, which are open and evoking feelings and emotions, then we could go further to this global citizenship development, to empathy, to self-reflectivity and understanding of each other. What should we do? On the one hand, it's only a way we move. How can we create this map of narrative? It's a consequential process. Firstly, we need to assemble data. For example, we can take TXT file with a text we want to analyze. It can be, of course, any text you like. Gutenberg project website, they are free and open texts in TXT formats. Or then we move to geotagging. We take CVS file from GitHub and embed it into my Google Maps. Actually, CVS file is done via Excel. Yes, I think that all of us have worked with it and it's not very difficult. Later, I will show it to you. And further, we visualize or stylize data. Further, we create map layers or design pop-up boxes with the multimedia materials in them. Then we could export this map into a website or a page or application in order to contextualize this map essay or spatial narrative. So this is the way our CVS file look like. It contains these 27 stories, novels, and narratives, basically from 27 European countries, written by immigrants or for and about immigrants. As you can see, if we move, firstly, we need a column with the name of the country, then abbreviation, name of the author, its points for the map, where the country is located, title of the story, and short summaries. So basically, it's manually created file. I think that it's not very difficult, just you fill in the table step by step. Of course, you may change titles of columns and contents the way you like, but firstly, we do it because we need data to work with, right? Then we save this file in CVS format or comma separated file, it's called. And then we open Google Maps. There is the link. We open Google Maps and we insert this TXT CVS file. And now we will watch one short video. I hope that sounds and video embedded will work. So let's try. It's the recording, the way this map looks like and what does it contain. So the first map of this narratives of displacement. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, if not, please write me in the chat. So firstly, we go to Google Maps. We have created this map and short stories from 27 chosen countries are reflected, as you can see, on the map. And via Google Earth, it looks more spatial, so to say, yeah, and really dynamic. And for students, it will be involving. And we move from one story to another. So this is, for example, a story east or west. This another story comes from Austria. There is the name of the author, the year. Then we move around this map and see another story, or these are 50 actually short stories, or a story from Greece. All of them concern the lives of displaced people or immigrants with their stories, personal reflections, families, relations, work, and many others. And then we can also embed videos, not only text. Let's listen.
Thema Herkunft spielt tatsächlich eine Rolle in allen bisherigen Arbeiten von mir, und das hat einmal den relativ einfachen privaten Grund, dass ich mit der Frage nach Zugehörigkeit und Herkommen, Herkunft, Heimat immer wieder konfrontiert werde und selber auch ohne konfrontiert zu werden sehr gerne darüber nachdenke, weil es eben in meinem Fall eine sehr komplexe Geschichte nach sich zieht.
Sorry, I cannot hear you.
Jugoslawien geboren, in einem Land.
Could you let's try because I cannot hear anything. Could you write me in a chat, please, what problem we have, and then we could move on. Oh, here are the messages, sorry. Okay. I'm sorry for that, but you know, it's always like you never know. You are talking into. Just tell me, please, do you hear the sound of video?
Yes, we can hear.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Dass es nicht mehr gibt. Komme aus einer ethnisch gemischten Familie. In dem Krieg, weswegen es das Land nicht mehr gibt, haben diese Ethnien eigentlich gegeneinander gekämpft. Wir sind als Geflüchtete nach Deutschland gekommen und dort wurde uns wiederum die Frage nach der Herkunft gestellt, aber aus einer fremdbestimmenden Perspektive. Man war eigentlich in erster Linie Geflüchteter, dann war man Jugoslawe. Plötzlich gab es Jugoslawien nicht mehr. Es sind lauter Verschiebungen und.
Okay, so we also may embed videos in our map of narratives, and this was the author of the narrative about displacement, and he shared his experience. Why did he write this story? And we may choose any episode, of course, and embed from 1-2 minutes to as much as you want. For example, there is also another narrative about the Ukrainian family, which was displaced immigrated to Canada. And I have a very great colleague there who also shares some information and short stories. And in the future, we would like to extend these borders and extend this map and create it really transnational to show different experiences of people from different continents. And now let's try to move on. I will fix up one thing in order to move. And so, because we need some other slides now. Oh, sorry. So it's here. We will proceed further with no multimodal, but in a normal format, so to say. The main point is that video works, and it's very important for me because I was worried about that matter. So after this, we go to things we found out in studying these stories. The main concepts which were chosen and identified, of course, these are resistance, cultural oppression, identity and assimilation or transformation, immigration and family conflict, separation, loss and challenge. And these thematically, conceptually related ideas are disseminated across these stories, short stories, narratives. Maybe it can be also personal reflections of people. It's just piloting of the study with a plan to extend its horizon and diversify textual content. As well, you can see on the left side that we may modify it, of course, using artificial intelligence tools and create images we need. So that's on the left side, the way AI sees the narrative of displacement and different stories of people. And we would like to make the consequential development of this project. What we have just seen will be work package 1, mapping of Germanic and Slavic textual space of displacement. In the second work package, we would represent displaced human identity in online learning environment, and then move to data-driven foreign language learning, trying to find those semantic, stylistic, pragmatic features which will, in combination with social and emotional load and charge of the materials we choose, to further contribute to the best outcomes of our students. And actually, the topic is interesting for our students, both in Germany and Ukraine, and some other participants. And we can see on the screen some of their answers. We made this poll on transnational TEFL research and global education. And below you can see answer number 6. And it's a very interesting answer of the students. I guess that he or she answered that in a nutshell, accepting people the way they are means that we all have different backgrounds that shape us and our mindsets. Understanding and accepting these differences and also being tolerant towards others. It's also vital to be up to date with major events that are happening in other regions and be willing to listen to people's stories on how they lived through those events. And of course, these are only some answers to some questions, but students are interested in intercultural and transcultural competencies development in order to involve and increase their cultural awareness, empathy, open-mindedness, and adaptability to different communication styles. So far in this poll, 19 people participated, only because the topic which I have just shared with you was presented to 2 or 3 groups of students during hybrid format sessions. And we could have a chance to be joined by participants from India, from Brazil, Turkey, and Ukraine. And of course, there will be another round of this poll in order to foster other ideas and concepts in the field of this transcultural and transnational learning. On other topics, so far we will be focused on displacement of narratives of displacement, and of course, with the accumulating our results, we could extend the number of stories we consider, the way we present them, and the way we create our maps. And we are on our way to apply for third-party funding on related topics. For example, between Ukrainian and German colleagues, we have applied for third-party funding for immersive projection room for VR, which can be embedded in foreign language learning with a focus on empathy. So this will be also interactive and multimedia materials for virtual reality rooms where students can meet each other and try to share their stories in a foreign language they learn. Because they, of course, they're future English language teachers, but all of them know other foreign languages, and we would like to foster this linguistic competence in combination with their communication skills and transcultural knowledge. So here are some references, not all, of course. If you are interested in further details of this research or further ideas which we can develop together involving more participants to our common activities and projects, please contact me via email, and I will be ready to give answers to your questions. So thank you for your attention. And I will now stop sharing my screen. And hopefully we have some time for discussions.
Okay. Any questions, please? I think I've got one question. So it was very exciting topic, you see, in general, you see, and I was just carried away with your speech about different techniques and so on and research problems. But will you kindly summarize all those advantages of this research, you see, for EFL teachers in general? How practically we can use this method, you see, in our everyday classroom? Okay.
Okay, thank you very much for your question and for your interest. I see the main advantage I see in the universality of this approach. Actually, if we try to create one or another TXT file or Excel basis with the information we need, we may visualize it the way we want, and of course work with maps and with text. Also, we may foster knowledge not only in literature but also in geography and history, because we can embed, for example, places of location of the characters which were mentioned in the stories, or as we have heard, this author's reflection, what does he think about his creation, why did he write this story, and it's kind of a dynamic environment. All these sources are free, open. Students could be also authors, not only recipients of the content, but I would like them to be also the authors of the content they are interested in, because I think for them it won't be a problem to create this map one time and then only add more points, more text, and embed content there. So it's about the development of not only linguistic competence, but also information skills, critical thinking, creative abilities, and research abilities of students to make them more interested in the topic they study. And of course, if they study together or do a project together with students from another country, it will be also good for their communication competence and transcultural knowledge. So hopefully in the future we can make some workshops where step by step I could show how to create this table, fill in data, embed, and see the result, and we could work all together there.
Thank you very much. So I think that your speech is closely connected with this keynote speech which we had yesterday about storytelling to ignite learning, and this is just seen from another but different angle, and this is another proof that this is very important. Thank you very much. Any other questions, please? If not, we'd like to thank you very much for your participation, for this most exciting story you have presented as well. Thank you, and have a nice day.
Thank you very much, and see you in the future, and good luck, and my applause go for you, for your attention, and that everything worked well. So I wish you all the best, and thank you once again for the invitation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And the next keynote speaker today is Sanjian, Assistant Professor, Department of Postgraduate Education, Dr. Dada Wade College, University of Goa.
Hello.
You're welcome. Morning, afternoon.
Yes.
Good morning and good afternoon. Okay, so let me begin with some of the concepts which we are using for empowering Indian students. Is it audible? Yeah. So let me begin with the culture of India. We have a multilingual country of different types of languages in different states, 28 states and 6 union territories. So we have implemented a lot of programs for equipping the students, especially in English language teaching. So I would like to tell something about some of the integrated approaches, pedagogical practices, which we are using from preschool to university level. So let me discuss about, these are some of the practices in English language teaching which we are following from school level to university level. The first one is communicative language teaching. And here what we are doing, because most of the students in India, so after graduation or post-graduation, they are facing a lot of issues, especially language inhibitions. So after the graduation, post-graduation, we are giving 21 days residential training in universities or colleges, especially more focusing on the language building and the soft skills. So that is the first one, the communicative language teaching. Then we have the task assisted language teaching also there. Then multilingual approach, digital assisted language teaching, thing-based approach, and language integrated approach. So besides the university curriculum, we have several projects like ASAP is there. ASAP means additional skill acquisition program, as well as good English project, because these are some of the initiatives given by our university with the help of Ministry of Education for empowering the students, the Indian students. Then they will go for education in different countries. So these are the strategies which we are using initially. Then even could you list down a few practices in English language teaching in Ukraine, because I am very curious about, can you share students some practices in English language teaching in Ukraine? Can you share something? Hello?
Can we share something? Not yet.
Hello?
We want to hear yours practices.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Okay. So these are some of the practices which we are using. Then the concept of co-learner in English language teaching classroom. Even nowadays we know that there is no difference between the learner and the teacher. We are all co-learner. We are learning together, and especially in we have the national literacy mission is there. So we are employing the different type of strategies, even for the youth also, empowering the youth, the concept is there. And we have recently changed our national curriculum, because most of the Indian students, they are very backward in English language teaching because of the multilingual influence. So that's why we slightly changed the English language teaching in NCF, that is the National Curriculum Framework in 2023. So these are the four stages which we are following. We integrated the language, the foreign language, especially the first one, National Curriculum Framework for Early Childhood Education, the National Curriculum Framework for School Education, and National Curriculum Framework for Teacher Education, and National Curriculum Framework for Adult Education. So each 4 level, we integrated all these approaches. So after implementation, now the 1 year was there. So we slowly seen some drastic changes among the students, because every week we are taking the feedback of the students. Then how can we link with the national curriculum framework? So before that, we followed another curriculum framework. So we later we felt that that curriculum is not that much working well. So that's why we adopted the new curriculum framework as per the national education policy in 2020. And NCF 2023 is aimed at holistic growth of children between the age of 3 to 8. And even from that age onwards, we are following the 3-language formula. We have mother tongue based language education, then national language, that is our Hindi, and English language. So we are giving a multilingual approach in language teaching, then encourages interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary learning. Then 4 principles which we are following in NCF, especially in English language teaching, like respect, compassion, empathy, and responsibility. Most of the courses which we link with British Council as well as the American state of English. Then we integrate the language with arts, even mathematics, sports. So everything we interlinked, that is the transdisciplinary approach, especially learning English language. Then these are some of the things which we integrated for the building skills. Actually, the students lack skills and competencies. So we integrate the competencies, skill components more. And we already have history of skill and education. So every subjects, those who are learning the concept of mathematics, science, social studies, or language, to be integrated concept of language everywhere. That is the integration of methodologies. So that will get the job opportunities for students. Then these are some of the tasks of ELT teacher in India everywhere, like building and rebuilding of knowledge, skills, competencies, and expertise, as well as when we prepare the lesson plans, especially teaching schools and universities, we are more focusing on the integration of 21st century skills as well as the building of competency. So the teacher, school teacher should definitely focusing on at least 5 competencies. So that's very important in English language teaching. And this is the framework for 21st century learning. That is also we adopted learning core subjects, 21st century themes, learning and innovation skills. So everywhere we have ELT club as well as innovation clubs are there. The life and career skills, information, and like the digital literacy skills. Then these are the core subjects which we are giving more importance. Then the 21st century themes, global awareness. So through English language teaching, we inculcate among the students the importance of global awareness, especially in the post-truth world. Then financial, economic, business, and entrepreneurial literacy also, especially in India, we more importance for startup and the civic literacy also. Then this is also we are giving more importance, creativity and innovation skills, then critical thinking and the problem solving skills, communication and collaboration skills, because that is very lack. Because in India we have like helicopter parenting and most probably mark-based system, because we are giving more importance for the mark-based education system. So that we have to solve. That's why we implemented new curriculum, and we are more focusing on the English language. And the main idea is to make as the increasing of GDP, as well as to become a top nation in future. Then we are also focusing on this life and the career skills. the need-based education and the productive approach, and information and media technology skills, because a lot of cyber crimes among the students, especially those who are pursuing the English language. So we give more importance digital literacy and information skills in link with English language teaching. And sometimes we are taking the students in different exchange program, like in Japan, we have last Sakura program is there. So we taken the students in different countries for uplifting their skills. Then, as you know that we are more giving more importance for these predominant skills like communication, collaboration, creativity, and the critical thinking, especially the last one, because when we compare with the Western students, the Asian students, they are very lack in critical thinking. So we are more giving importance on critical thinking in English language teaching. And so many programs which we are doing, like ASAP and even Good English Project. So these are some of the programs which we are doing besides the general English language teaching for equipping the students, university students, youth, and even for the people of villages, those who are interested in English language learning. But the main problem is that the language influence is there, because we have multilingual nation. So, but still we have hopeful, we strengthen, we streamline the project in entire parts of India. And now we also focusing on the integration of skills for migrants also, because a lot of migrants from different rural areas, they come to different places. So we started a new project last year for equipping the migrants also, especially in basic English literary skills. So these are some of the initiatives from India. So thank you, and thank you very much. Yeah. If you have any questions, yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this exciting speech. And I think that this speech may arouse some questions. So, have you any questions? Yes.
Question. In linguistics and translation. So you mentioned in your speech that you implement digital technologies in the process of language teaching. Will you specify what exactly you predominantly focus on? And do you implement any of the long-term or short-term projects in the process of language teaching, just in the institution where you teach? Thank you very much.
Okay, yeah. So actually, the main problem, we most of them are village concentrated. We are not that much urbanized. So what we are giving from preschool onwards, we are giving the nuggets of English language teaching. But still, after secondary education and higher secondary, still the students lack the skills in English language teaching. That's why we are giving like a finishing school system after graduation and post-graduation. So actually it is a 21-day residential program for equipping the basic English literary skills of the students, especially focusing on the four aspects of language learning. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. And in one more question. You mentioned 4 principles of national curriculum framework. And this was like respect, compassion, empathy, and responsibility, as far as I remember. So can you tell us the difference between compassion and empathy?
Empathy, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, actually, in Indian education system, the main thing is that we give more importance to the language building, skill building, but the basic concepts of compassion, empathy, and empathy, that is very less among the students. Even nowadays, we are thinking about adversity quotient, and we are not giving that much importance for respect, compassion, even for the responsible learning that we are not giving in preschool onwards, like other countries. So that's why the national curriculum framework, which more focusing on the compassion between like emotional proximity between the students and teachers, and they should also empathize with the other learners. Yeah, that is the concept.
Thank you very much for this clarification. Any other
Even
questions, please?
even we are focusing on ESL also, emotional and social learning among the students.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions, please? Yes? Question.
Teaching science, methods, and languages together. How does this idea align with GLIM approach?
Yeah. Now what we are thinking, for example, I will give you one example why we link with the maths and the language. Even in mathematics, we are learning a lot of concepts like centimeter and meter, and many of the students after finishing 10 or 12, they don't know how to measure even the length of a cloth. Okay, so after the 10, they can go for tailoring or even a sales girl or a sales boy, but they don't know how to measure what's the meter and even centimeter, the length of a cloth. So that's why we integrate the concept of centimeter and meter, which were in mathematics, language teaching also. So that should be very beneficial for after the class. So because all of them not become engineers, doctors or lawyers, because sometimes they become the salesman, sales girl. That's why we decided to integrate these simple concepts in their mind. So after the class, they can join for, they can work as a tailor or salesman, sales boy like that. That's why, yeah. So through that, we can empower each village, and because unemployment issues are more in India, it is 8.5 like that in different year, it changes. So that's why we changed the entire curriculum. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. No questions anymore. Thank you very much for the participation and very, very interesting keynote speech. Thank you. Have a nice day. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
The next key speaker is Associate Professor, Dalsing College from India, Dinesh Cuba.
Sir, am I audible? Hello, sir, am I audible?
Yes,
Yeah,
we can see you.
Am I audible,
we
sir?
hear you.
We hear you and
Am I
see you.
audible, sir?
Oh, you.
Sir, am I audible?
Yes.
Hello,
Yes.
am I audible, sir? Hello,
Is it okay? Yeah.
sir, am I audible?
Yes, we can see you, we can hear you.
We can see you. We can
Okay,
hear.
okay, sir. So, I think I should start with my topic, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Okay, sir. Thank you. So first of all, I thank Professor Anna Kosenko for giving me this opportunity for this hybrid mode conference organized by your university. So the topic that I have chosen for this conference is role of translation in bridging the cultural gaps. So how translation studies, translation, it helps in bridging the gaps. So we know that translation, it has always been central to intercultural communication, and lack of knowledge of another culture may cause confusion, misunderstanding, or even some offense during communication process. And it also makes the conclusion of international and bilateral agreement difficult, also you can say impossible. And we know that in a variety of fields like science domain, academic research, business management, education, health, and also culture, politics, and diplomacy, and also development, the importance of intercultural communication cannot be denied. So with the help of travel, international media, and internet communication among people, it becomes easy. So first we will try to explain what is the role of a translator. Who is a translator? The definition of a translator is a person who helps people who speak different languages to communicate, or who takes something such as speech or a book in one language and who puts it into different languages, converting that you can say book into different languages for people to understand. So being a translator means removing the language barrier. So the main function of the translator is to remove the language barrier and as much as possible bridging a cultural gap between the people. So this is also the definition given by Julia Thornton. And also a translator is a nobleman or noble women, also we can say, who translate the source language into target language. Also, he or she is a political researcher, and president or classy politician speak through translator. So translation is a critical job, we know, and your classy translation may save the world. So now we come to the topic, how the translation English, the translation, it can solve some problems, it can bring the cultural, you can say close, and the gaps can be, you can say, bridged up. So in the present paper, an attempt has been made regarding the cultural gap and their translation. It compares the different cultural connotation of expression in English and you can say other languages. So first, it analyzes, you can say, some cases. So the cultural gap reflected in translating process. So we know that each nationality has its own culture, and it has also the unique symbol of, they have a unique symbol of in their mind, and the society's culture, it consists of whether it is one has to know or believe in order to operate in a manner acceptable to its members, and do so in any role that they accept for any one of the themselves. So in a word, culture refers to the entire way of life of a society. It also includes not only material things such as cities, organization, schools, but also non-material things. Non-material things include ideas, custom, family pattern, and languages. Language is not seen as an isolated phenomena suspended in the vacuum, but as an integral part of the culture. Some social scientists consider it as the keynote of culture. So on the other hand, language is also influenced by, and it is also shaped by culture. It reflects culture. It just can say like a bridge between culture and translation. So it plays a very crucial role, very significant role, important role. And as we know that during the translating process, cultural differences often make us feel awkward. And how can we deal with these, you can say, situations properly? In my view, we can say that first of all we should see through to the essence of this can say circumstance, as the word is the most active and the most lively element of the language. So the changes in social life and the development in national culture can be reflected in words quickly and directly. So we must pay more attention to the analysis and also the comparison of the cultural connotation of the words, for it reflects the cultural differences in different countries. So when we are communicating with someone, when we are communicating with somebody from your own culture, then we can express ourselves or represent ourselves, our own experiences much easier, because you can share many similar ideas with him. But when communication is between people from different culture, the process is more troublesome. Words, as an effective tool, reflect author's attitude and beliefs, their point of view, and we can say language express cultural reality. So intercultural awareness, it becomes especially very important when you encounter a new language. Something are easy to learn. You just patch on some new lexical terms, lexical items, and also grammatical forms, and I'll continue listening and talking. So other things are more difficult, though with a little effort of difference from one language to another can be bridged. Lack of cultural knowledge, it affects our comprehension negatively. So maybe someone thinks intercultural awareness can grow naturally, but according to me, it has to be trained. For example, when a child grows in the, you can say, American cultural world, learns the word dog, he will normally learn the cultural meaning of the word dog. Dog is man's best friend. While a child brought up in the Chinese culture world will be taught that the dog is dirty and also very dangerous animal. So this is the difference between their interpretation of the word dog. So these two kind of minds made us, you can say, have extremely different attitude at the same, you can say, animal. So people who naturally associated the culture with their mother tongue are naturally inclined to interpret things with their own cultural references. So this natural inclination, it is generally known as intuitive competence. A culture specific phenomena is thus one that is found to exist in a particular form or function in only one of the two cultural being compared. So this does not mean that the phenomena exist only in those two particular culture with another forms. So in linguistic translation, it is very important to be aware, to get familiar with the cultural background of these words. So in the famous book, A Dream of Red Mansion, there is such can say occasion, and we come to know that that a term in one language does not have a counterpart in another language. So American historian Henry Brook told words are slippery. He referred to the fact that language translation is difficult and subject to countless misinterpretations. We often meet such circumstances in the course of translation. One thing is unique in one country, and the equivalent word reflecting this object cannot be found in another country. So non-equivalence of words comes into being, and this illustrates cultural differences directly. So, for example, we cannot find equivalent Chinese term of Phoenix riddle. On the other hand, we have some, you can say, in Chinese language, Xia Lian Shan Fu, Dong Lian Shan Ju. So, which means urging people to exercise and keep fit, which is difficult to be translated into English. So there is also extension and intention. So in different countries, when defining the same object, languages are different in extension and intention. So it reflects cultural gaps too. So terms that have more or less the same primary meanings, but which have secondary or additional meaning that may differ considerably from each other. So we can see there are many color example about it in Chinese. Blue color is the, you can say, symbolic of purity and melancholy when it means salacious in English. So we find that we sometimes cannot directly translate color without introducing subtle changes in meaning. So the English phrase red-blooded does not mean hang shu day, which is in Chinese. Rather, it is another way of saying that someone or their behavior is confident and strong. So the language phrase red-blooded, it just means having red eyes or lack of sleep. While the Chinese equivalent of this word red-blooded, hong ye, it means at least two things: having red eyes and interesting enough green with envy. So we find you can see this difference. So things are also things or concepts that are represented by one or perhaps two terms in one language, but by many more terms in other languages. In the broad sense, language, which is symbolic representation of a person, and it compresses their historical and cultural backgrounds as well as their ways of living and thinking. So, for instance, the word brother-in-law, it is often used in our daily life, and it can be applied to my sister's husband, my husband's brother, and my husband's sister, husband's, which in Chinese we call it meifu, or when perceiving all these relatives in similar way. Language is not only simply a means of reporting experience, but more important, it is the way of defining experience. So we have also some derivations that we find in translation studies. Undoubtedly, culture is the form of thing that people have in mind, their models and perceiving, relating, and otherwise interpreting them. People often associate certain qualities with certain creature or objects. So these qualities are often, I can say, arouse certain reaction, emotions, although there may be little or even no scientific ground for such association. So we find that in translation, the method on how to solve about translating problems, how to translating words from one language to into another language, how to solve, you can say, some translating problems. So there are so many translating problems that can be aroused with cultural gaps. How to deal with it is very important, and it is a process during the process of translation. How to deal with these problems? This is very, you can say, important point. On the basis of his own translation practices, some critics stress that in translating literature, one should emphasize the following 3 points. What are these 3 points? First is to translate the concept and convey the complete feeling of the original rather than just one word. The second is to use different styles with different genres. And third is to pay more attention to the readers. So that is, a translator should attach greater importance to cultural equivalence than to any other aspect. Obviously, equivalence can be achieved, but not always on the same level. We can choose suitable translation method from the following 6 procedures of establishing cultural equivalence. It is the key point of translating, for it can also affect the translation very much. The first is to retain the original cultural flavor. While translating, it is the duty, it is the, you can say, work of the translator that you should retain the original cultural flavor. So from the Jumplant principle of literary translation, we study that a translation should read like an original. Whether to retain original cultural flavor depends on the literal form and inner meaning which can be accepted by the reader. So that is the first point. And the second point is transliterations. Transliteration can be divided into two main aspects. First is transliteration and transliterations and transliteration plus a generic word. What is transliteration? Transliteration, it means words are translated according to the pronunciation. For instance, copy, brandy, chocolate, aspirin, and also can say many words. So it often used to translate something unique in certain countries or areas, just like some food or games. So transliteration plus a generic word, that is the second condition. Sometimes we find that the readers may not understand the explicit meaning when using transliteration, for they have no chance to know the things directly. So we should plus the generic word and transliteration if necessary. The third point was transference. Transference is because of some words are used widely in our daily life and maybe they are not original. And if we quote the example of Chinese words, we still can understand its meaning and without translation. But this method is generally known as transference, which means the original word is all transferred into the translated word text wholly or partly. So the fourth is replace the cultural expression of the source text with those of the target language. Target language is the language that we are learning, or the language that we are translating into from our native language. People in different regions they use proverbs and sayings with their own distinct characteristics. Proverbs are short sayings of wisdom, of well-known maximum, fact, which are expressed very clearly in a way that makes them easy to remember. So such method is most useful and helpful in translating proverbs. A large number of you can say some if we quote the example of Chinese proverb and also saying invariably display some deep-rooted Chinese qualities. And these examples or these Chinese proverbs demonstrate the truth that people in different culture do not have understanding of certain natural phenomena and social events, and they have a common wisdom with regard to many respects of life. And this might explain why people say great mind think alike. So this is the saying, which in itself is a good example of the similarity in two cultures. Then we have the translate the implied meaning. Implied is the meaning which is not clear, implicit. Apparently, people in different culture express words differently because of difference of their mode of thinking. In that case, we should translate the implied meaning according to the context. For instance, when I was in trouble, Paul was the only one who would stick his neck out to help me. So then there is explanation. To explain is another good way to solve the cultural gap problem while translation. So when translating certain words of the cultural flavor, there is no equivalent word in target language, but only to explain. For example, Shylock refers to lean segu, spring chicken, and also don't play, you can say uncle over me. So when we translate these words into another language, so we find that can say we face, you can say some words by me, we explain these words properly. So when we are going through the, you can say this process of translation, how this translation is bridging the gap or creating a gap to bridge And this can be also the reflection on the role of translation in bridging or widening the gap between different cultures with particular reference to some religion, or you can say politics as well. So whenever a professional translator is asked to perform the task of translating a given text in return for a given payment, both the translator and the customer who want the text in question translated have to worry about the charge of the work to be done. Naturally, everybody has to earn his or her living. Professional translator too, they have to pay the machine, the doctor, dentist, and also milkman whenever they want their everyday need satisfied. So therefore, in turn, they charge others when they do the job, when they know best, like translation. So we find that while you can say going through the concept of, you can say, bridging the gap between the culture because of translation, the statement of the problem in the, you can say, old days when linguistics had not born yet, translation study were no more than a twinkle in the eyes of the scholars. So these translations were impressionistic reflection based on the purely personal experience and without any theoretical framework to harness the whims and impulses of the writer. So we have the example of many writers like Cicero, for example, who was a pioneer in the field of translation, distinguished between words and their meanings. Nevertheless, he simply maintained that translation it was a process of interpreting or embellishing the original text, and claimed the possibility of editing the original in place where it may be redundant and uninteresting or even ambiguous. So yet with the emergence of the modern linguistics in the 20th century and translation studies, a few decades later, the picture had radically changed. So a translator was no longer regarded as a creative writer in his or her own right. He is basically an honest conveyor of something else message. The more invisible a translator is, the better credit he receives. So we have, can say, many quotations from many critics like Lawrence, Venuti, the translator's invisibility. Indeed, that is the case in this point. And when translation in the early 60s or 20th century started to be dealt with merely as pure art or sheer practice, but as a rigorous linguistic discipline under the umbrella of applied linguistics. It was defined as a transfer of meaning, and in his pioneer work, A Linguistic Theory of Translation, Catfold, he points out that translation is the replacement of textual material in one language by equivalent textual material in another language. So target language, we call it, you can see when we are translating it. However, how far this view of translation still the case in practice? Do translators actually function as neutral, objective mediators? Should we even require or expect them to be able to do so? So these are some questions. Translation can be employed as a strategy for the consolidation of the cultural others, such as process may not simply involve the fixation of dominant ideology, but also the filtration, also blocking of certain autonomous dynamics of cultural representation. So the early 1990s witnessed the emergence of domain in translation study, such as post-colonial translation, ethnographic approach, and also feministic translation. So these new approaches have contributed to the redefinition of traditional concept and have by far consolidated the view of translation as a cultural practice. So a few scholars have repeatedly underlined the high degree of social contextualization of translation, even though they have hardly provided. I think my time is over.
Thank you very much. Any questions?
Sir, yes, sir. So I have, you can say, some more material, but I cannot go forward because of time constraint. So I would like to stop here. And so the floor is open for the question. No problem now.
Okay. So, Professor, I've got one question. If you speak about critical assessment, of translation, what are the basic means of critical assessment of translation, and what appear to be most useful you see in your practice?
So when we are, you can say, translating, and when in critical, you can say, when we want critical analysis, then we should try to keep in our mind, a translator, I should say, a translator should try to keep in his mind that when he is translating one text of the native language into target language, English language or German language or other, you can say, modern languages. So at that time, the meaning of that can say context should not be, you can say, changed. So because we have a number of Indian contexts, he was Bengali and into English, so it was also equally popular, equally, you can say, famous, but he was in this, you can say, Bengali language. So the translator should try to keep the meaning of that context intact. Otherwise, when we are translating, because these days we have on Google, we have many, you can say, translators, and we just insert one file of Hindi language and we get its translation. But the English translation of that Hindi language, it is not so accurate or so grammatically, you can say, right. So at that point, we should keep in mind that the actual meaning of the, you can say, the native, you can say, language, it should not be, you can say, it should not come confused to the readers when they are reading that the same thing in English language.
Thank you very much. Any questions? No questions.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. And now